Hey everybody, final night of the 5 days of working on this song. I had a lot of high hopes for actually working on this today during the day, and none of it happened because, well, life happens sometimes. And so we're almost picking up exactly where we left off. And that's okay because I have a couple of things that I wanted to cover with this. I'm not going to be able to finish the song tonight. It's just not going to happen fully. But I do think that I've made a lot of really good progress on it. The things I wanted to talk about tonight were like the finishing of the project a little bit, some of the mastering things which we might do here. And so that's our goal right now, is to do that. So what I have is the match EQ. I'm going to put this first in the chain on my master. And I'm going to talk about the match EQ for a couple minutes because this is something that is really useful to use early on in the mixing process because it teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot about your song. And so I want to show you how that works and why you might use it early on, and how you can actually use it when you're doing your full master as well. So what we have here is this tool which takes various pieces and combines them in a way that's meaningful for the spectrum. So with the current, that's the song we're working on. If I push learn and push play, it's going to learn kind of like an average spectrum of your song, and it's going to learn the curve of your song. So I'm going to do that. I think I've done it at the beginning of a song. I can do it in multiple places, but I'm going to do a little bit at the beginning, and I'm going to do a little bit in that second half of the chorus. Those are the two extremes. Here we are against the ropes. It's getting hard. Of course they know. And then a little bit up here. Get in line. Believe what we believe. See what we are seeing. Okay, so I've got the two different places. This is my curve of my song. I can already tell you I've got too much low frequency. That comes with mixing on headphones sometimes, and the reason why we do this. For the reference, I could learn something the same way by playing it, but I'm going to click on the gear here. I'm going to generate a reference spectrum from an audio file, and I'm going to do this from an unnamed audio file. In whatever song that you would want this to sound like would be the one that you would choose. I'm just not going to talk about a song from any famous artists and using it like this because YouTube is YouTube. So I've got that one loaded as the reference. Now I can come over to my curve, and what it does is it takes my original one, it takes the reference, and it gives me a curve that's going to match those two. Now the smoothing, if I do this all the way at 0, it's going to be very detailed. Look how many points are on this EQ curve. This is an insane EQ tool. The only thing it doesn't have is dynamic changing, which is something that I wish it did have, which means I could put a song in that's 3 minutes long, and I have my song, which is 3 minutes long, and it matches it as it goes and is changing the whole time. It doesn't do that. This is just a static change. But then you can smooth it down if you want and just do broad strokes and anything in between. You can also, if you want, change some things manually. So I can add some stuff in if I want, and then undo it, of course. And we can do some things with just individual channels. We can decide how much to link the channels. We can switch between linear, minimal, and minimal zero latency if you need it to have zero latency. Linear is going to add some latency. And then we have the amount here, so we can pull it down if we want to, etc. So we can really tweak this as much as we want. it's a really powerful tool. We can fade the extremes. That means that if we feel like, the lows are doing something weird or the highs were doing something, that we can actually do that. I typically don't worry about that too much, except check out the curve here. I have apparently something in the very high frequencies. I know what it is, but it's pulling it out. It doesn't like it. So I might actually do that. But the biggest thing that I'm learning is that I do have too much in the low frequencies in my version, as opposed to the version that I loaded up as the reference. And so, if you do this early enough, what you could learn is, oh, geez, I have way too much low frequencies here. See the difference there? And so, you could go back through your sounds and actually remix them earlier on. With the bass, for instance, which is probably what that is. It's either some bass or the kick drum or the kick. And then you'll see I've got too much mid-low right here in comparison to my reference track. And then the high stuff is actually, it's actually boosting somewhere between 5 and 20, which means I didn't have quite enough brightness there. And so I think it's interesting to learn about your project this way. And then you can go back and change your mixing process so you can actually get a little bit different thing. So without doing that, just listening as it is, let's listen for a second. I'm going to turn it off for a moment. And then let's just loop the first little half of the verse. And then I'm going to turn it on the second time through. Here we are against the ropes. It's getting hard. Of course they know. Look across that empty field. They're standing there, not a new deal. Hold my hand. It's all I got. Push on through. It's not allowed. They looked our way. Hide your eyes. Inch back home. Inside their lies. Here we are against the ropes. It's getting hard. Of course they know. Look across that empty field. They're standing there, not a new deal. Hold my hand. It's all I got. Push on through. It's not allowed. They looked our way. Hide your eyes. Inch back home. Inside their lies. So I don't necessarily like the end product as much. I might actually have to do 2 different settings, one for like that intro and then one for the chorus. But let's check out that second half of the chorus where I also took a measurement. They say, get in line. Believe what we believe. See what we are seeing. They say that different is good. But cancel those that are different than them. Walk the line. Okay, so interesting. I think I know some of the areas I still need to actually work on the mix. And the plan was originally to do some of it before tonight. But like I said, I didn't get to it. So this, though, is very informative because I'm hearing, like with the vocals, when I turn this on, it's making the sound a little bit interesting. And part of that is listening on headphones. Even though I've got the headphone tracker on with waves, it's not perfect. And there's certainly some things to be desired there. But I do think that there's a number of things that we could do with this. The good news is that it's not doing too much overall. I mean, there are some boosts like here and that. This is part of the issue right there is this one. We could, if we wanted to, let's see, what is it? Shift to adjust the cue. So I'm just going to adjust a couple, make these a little bit less painful. They say, get in line, believe what we believe. Here we are, against the ropes. It's getting hard, of course they know. Look across that empty field. So, some interesting things to think about and kind of digest with that for sure. Definitely have some low frequency issues, too much in mine, and in comparison to the reference track. Okay, so the other thing that I had on there is the limiter, and it's actually doing quite a bit. They're standing there. Not right there, maybe at the chorus. They say, get in line. Believe what we Actually, it's not doing this. Okay, so before I put that match EQ, it was doing a ton. It must have been really compensating for the low frequencies. So now I actually need to turn it back up after we've done the match EQ. And I do feel like I want to do the match EQ before the limiter, just to make sure that I'm adjusting the frequencies before squashing the thing a little bit. So I'm going to come through and adjust the gain so that it's actually engaged. They say, get in line, believe what we believe, see what we are seeing. They say that different is good, but cancel those that are different than now. Walk the line to stay alive. They say, get in line, believe what we believe, see what we are seeing. They say that difference is good, but cancel those that are different than them. They say, get in line, believe what we believe, see what we are seeing. They say that different is good, but cancel those. Okay, so I'm shooting for around minus 14 LUFS. So what I'm doing is just adjusting some output and the gain of this last limiter to be approximately the right place. This is not the only place you do some gain staging, but you'd also, work with the individual tracks, make sure that they're all in the right place and do that. But for sure, you do want to have some sort of limiter out at the end and then checking with your multimeter. The LUFS is this column where my mouse is flying right now. And you can check a lot of other things with this meter in terms of phase. There's a correlation meter right here to tell you if everything is phase coherent instead of canceling itself out. It's getting hard. Hold my hand. It's all I got. Push on through. It's not allowed. The other thing I would typically do, which I'm not doing because we're on YouTube, is have some of my reference tracks from other songs out on actual tracks. And I don't do that when I'm on YouTube because copyright strikes or just copyright claims, and so we don't play other people's music. But I would have those out here and going back and forth, A being a bunch. I think that's really where I'm at right now with the song, is to start doing that, because it feels a little unwieldy, and I think I'm going to have to actually strip a lot of the work I've done here with the vocals and even the drums just a little bit, and figure out a little bit better way of building this song. There's a lot of stuff happening in the low mid frequencies that are competing with each other. It's a little muddy in those areas. Even though we've done some stuff in previous videos, I still think it actually has a bit of work to go with this. So I don't know. I think it may be the point where we start disassembling or disassembling the song, deconstructing the song, and rebuilding it up a little bit, because I'm not sure that right now just putting on the match EQ is gonna do enough for that. It's really informative, but I'm not positive about it. So I think that may be where we are just a little bit in terms of some of this. So that would be going back and actually listening to the drums and bass, making sure I've got a good level on the system so that I'm not listening too soft or too loud, and just kind of working on some of these elements together. I did notice I've got probably too much with some of this stuff with the drums, and this was the default that came on with this loaded up drummer, but I use that more for individual drum components rather than the overall drum thing. But right now it's on there. That's the Pultec emulation from Logic. I feel like if I'm going to use one of the vintage EQs, it's going to be this one, which is the API emulation. But let's actually just listen for a minute and start over slightly with the drums and the bass and see if we can't, without spending too much time, get a little bit better start happening. So that compressor was doing a lot of work. And I do like the way that I do that, but I want to start it fresh a little bit. Let's see what I have here for this one. The Reason rack is what's loaded up there. And I thought pretty hard today about actually switching out these drums. I liked them when I was first starting, but I don't think they're the right overall intensity. So see what happens when we start deconstructing? I actually start changing maybe more than we need to. But since we're going back, we're going to go with a different drummer for a little bit. And I don't know. Let's try a couple of these real quick with the bass. Nope. So I almost always with this type of stuff, do the mix of the input and output with the drums so that I get some of the natural and some of the compressed. I mean, this is really like the Billy Joel New York style drum compression, compansion. That way I can push it a little bit more. I think I already like the drums better this way. So we're going to leave them like this for the moment. Add in the other key part here, see how the levels were for this.
Back home, inside their lives, they say.
Whoa! So now, I got the other things I think at a better starting place. It just means now I've got to actually get these there as well. So I'm going to grab the trim mode here and pull these down like 6 decibels as a starting point. Give or take, and I can adjust them as we get there.
Here we are, against the ropes. It's getting hard. Of course they know. Look across that empty field. They're standing there, not on a deal. Hold my hand, it's all I got. Push on through, it's not allowed. They looked our way, hide your eyes. It's back home, inside their lives. They say, get in line. Believe what we believe, see what we are seeing. They say that different is good, but cancel those that are different than them. They say, get in line. Believe what we believe, see what we are seeing. They say that different is good, but cancel those that are different than them. Walk the line.
Okay, now we're hitting the top still on the master without the match EQ or the limiter engaged, but just barely. And I think I can live with that. But what I need to do now, let's do a little bit of a relearn. Let's let's put it out of learn mode. We're going to clear current material. Let's learn this thing. We'll just do the chorus second half.
They say, get in line. Believe what we believe, see what we are seeing.
Oh. Guess I have to turn it on first. Let's do that again. Whoa. Not match. Just learn. Try that again. Let's clear. Man, a lot of steps here just went out of order. I think what I'm going to do is that. I could have done it without doing that, but that just seemed like a little easier for the moment.
They say, get in line. Believe what we believe, see what we are seeing.
Okay, so now I've got that. Let's reload our song. Open. go to the match. And I still need to fix that EQ on the vocal, but everything else is actually a lot closer, except for these bumps right here. I mean, we're not talking much. That's like 5 dB, except up in a couple of the higher bumps. Like that one goes above 5, and that one goes a little bit below 5. But not bad overall. We're getting closer to the reference track, that's for sure.
Here we are against the road.
And I'm going to just fix that one real quick, because I think goofing around with some of that was not supposed to be like that. But that's what was causing it. So now that match EQ is telling me, whoa, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? So I'm going to come back through here, clear that again, and this time turn off match, learn the current.
They say in a lie, believe what we believe, see what we are seeing.
I think I need the drums to come up a little bit too, but why is it still like that? I don't know, maybe it's someplace else in there too. I'll have to look.
They say in a lie, believe what we believe, see what we are seeing. They say that different is good, we cancel those that are different than them. Walk the line to stay alive, must we decide to show or hide? But we are first to face this divide, the angry fist in another time. I was born inside my skin and taught.
Yeah, I just got some more drum tweaking to do. I haven't really done that since I switched out the kits, but I typically would adjust the kick more. In this case, tune it down slightly, dampen it, and then turn it up a little bit. I don't know about the snare. I think the snare's probably okay, but maybe could be used. Let's see what that one sounds dampened.
Taught to speak and taught to speak, just like my king, glorious thing, we all go through, something to celebrate, is the source of hate. They say, get in line, believe what we believe, see what we are seeing.
Okay, cool. I think, man, I think it needs a lot more work. This is entering in the tunnel of mixing.
Here we are against the ropes. It's getting hard. Of course they know. Look across that empty field. They're standing there, not a new deal. Hold my hand, it's all I got. Push on through, it's not allowed. They looked our way, hide your eyes. It's back home, inside their eyes. They say, get in line, believe what we believe, see what we are seeing. They say that different is good, but cancel those that are different than them. They
Okay, right about now is the point where I bounce out a mix, transfer it to the Apple Cloud, and go for a drive and listen to it in the car. Make a bunch of notes, come back, make a bunch of changes, because I think right this moment, after being on Zoom for like 6 hours today, I think my perspective is a little bit sideways. I think I like what it's happening. And this is where we get into the point of like preference. It's like, what is your preference on something? And I think that I wish I had finished editing the vocals before the stream so that I could hear them a little bit more, because I do think there's a number of places that I'm going to be still adjusting things there. I like, if we take those out of the equation, I actually do like a lot of the things happening with the other tracks. Okay, I'm going to delete the other drum track. I think I'm okay leaving it behind. Make sure I'm not having anything of the wrong thing selected. Okay, cool. Save. I mean, we have not too much happening here. Let's see how we're doing with our performance meter. Yeah, that's probably the weakest part of the whole song vocally is in the second verse, followed by the bridge. But those can be edited, I think. So not bad. I mean, we're not even using the other half of the processor. So I don't know if you... Let's see, where is that? Buffer is set to 128. I've got the automatic amount, so we could be using the 8 with the 4 high performance cores. That'll have to reset it all. Not a huge song, relatively small, but we have a decent amount of effects and things and some bigger instruments. And I think we're reloading some of those instruments right now. So now there's the full 8 chords, the full 8 threads, I guess. And
here we are against the ropes. It's getting hard. Of course they know. Look across that empty field. They're standing there, not a new deal. Hold my hand, it's all I got. Push on through, it's not allowed. Looked our way.
yeah, so we're barely even using any of the power to do all of this. And we have some of the reason racks in there, a bunch of the other instruments. Nothing too complicated, though. So I guess I'm not terribly surprised it's not using more than that. But it just goes to show you can come up with a bunch of things and like how they're sounding. And I think that's great that you don't have to ever worry about the power. I can't remember. I do have one of the play instruments on here. This one right here. I think... Oh man, we never copied this to the other courses. I'm glad I noticed that just now. So I need to actually listen to this at the end.
They position, they retain a lot. They say, get in line. Believe what we.
And now that I've switched out the drums, I want to actually see. It's just going to be a list of stuff over and over. Right there. I had done this a little bit in the other drums and I hated how it sounded because it never really got there. I want to do something where it's like double time and pumps up all the fills. Okay, that's a little stupid, but I'm going to leave it for now. Just turn it down slightly. One other thing that I'll point out before we wrap up here. This is something that I do on a lot of my songs, most of them nowadays. In the old days with tape machines, we had a varispeed knob, and you can actually speed up the record just slightly. One of my grad students at the university is doing his thesis about creating a way to do this with all different workstations, but we don't have to create something else with this. We can just do it in Logic. I can add varispeed to this, and then when we get to a point, we can just speed up the entire thing by like 2%. It's probably better to do it 0.02%, not 2 full percent.
Here we are.
And speed, I want to do speed and pitch because this will make it sound actually a little bit more natural without the artifacts.
Here we are against the ropes. It's getting hard. Of course they know. Look across that empty field. They're standing there, not a new deal. Hold my hand, it's all I got.
So it's kind of an interesting thing you can do to change the groove. If it's not quite grooving for you, you can just try a few different options. Just do it up a little bit, do it up more. But I do think that it makes the most sense for this technique to do the speed and pitch. That way you don't have any of the weird artifacts and stuff. But it does change the pitch. So you want to do this at the end if you're recording instruments. You don't want to have to make a guitar player tune up 2%, which would be insane. Okay. I think that's all we're going to do tonight. I think we're going to pull the plug on this live stream series. At some point I may publish a video on the main part of the channel with the final version of this, because I think I want to finish it. Even though I did this song for the stream, I like where it turned out. The lyrics and things like that are always a surprise when I write music, and so maybe that's what I'm thinking about. But we didn't really talk about the actual song writing portion of the lyrics, but we talked about a lot of the other stuff. The biggest thing I've noticed with this stream is that when I do streams earlier in the day, and I've been doing most of them around noon and Mountain Standard Time, that I end up getting a lot more people on the streams, primarily from different locations around the world who I believe are all sleeping right this moment. And so I think I'm going to go back to my once or twice a week streaming live a lot earlier in the day instead of at night. This tends to work better for me when the house is quiet, but I think that in terms of actually people watching them, it's a lot better if I do it earlier in the day, so that those in France and Germany and England will be awake instead of sleeping. But let me know in the comments if you have a preferred time. If you're watching this later and made it to the very end of this stream, then definitely leave a comment saying when you like stream times and all of that. But thanks everybody for those of you who came back and watched multiple days of this. Hope you learned some stuff throughout the whole process, and I hope it was useful. I think that some of the nights we had a lot more chattier audience and asking questions and commenting and things, but tonight is Friday night, and the 77 people who tuned in at various times, you all need to get a life. Well, just kidding. I'm the one doing a live stream on Friday night, so that's me I'm talking to. Anyway, thanks a lot for being here, and I'll see you later. I'm going to save this project for now, and I'm going to end the live stream. So thanks a lot for being here, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you later.